Joe Lum here. It's another Monday, and it's another episode of Album Review. Last week I covered Journey's Escape, which happens to be the band's most successful record to date. Today I cover the follow-up, which is Frontiers. Do me a favor, when you're done listening to this video, or watching this video, I got a playlist of all my past album review episodes. You can go check them out. The link is in the description box. And now, on to the episode. Following the success of Escape, their previous record, Journey was back in Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, California in the fall of 1982 to record their next record. They retained the services of Mike Stone and Kevin Elson, who produced the previous record, Escape. And they came up with a lot of new material. The album had been sequenced and prepped for pressing when, in a last-minute conference with Journey's AR man Michael Dilbeck, two songs were pulled from the original lineup, Ask the Lonely and Only the Young. Those two tracks were replaced with Back Talk and Troubled Child. Ask the Lonely was utilized in the soundtrack for the film Two of a Kind, and Only the Young would find its way in the top 10 2 years later as part of the soundtrack to the movie Vision Quest. The band also recorded a song called All That Really Matters with keyboardist Jonathan Cain singing lead vocals during the album sessions. It didn't see release until 1992's Time 3 box set. Looking at the artwork for Frontiers, Jim Welch designed the album cover, and it was the first album since Journey's third record, Next, released in sometime in like 76 or 77, I'm not sure, that did not employ the talents of Stanley Mouse or Alton Kelly. Welch, who has been Journey's art designer for more than 30 years, commented Frontiers was a subtle shift. Mouse and Kelly were not involved with that cover. His vision for Frontiers was based on tunnels and the relativity of time and motion. Light stays the same, but time bends. It was Einstein's theory for artist interpretation. The alien in Frontiers wasn't really an alien at all. He was a connection to a higher level listening to Journey. That's according to Jim Welch. Let's go ahead and take a look at the track listing. The album starts with Separate Ways, Worlds Apart, written by Steve Perry and Jonathan Cain, clocking in at 5:23. Center of My Love, also written by Perry and Cain, clocking in at 3:55. Chain Reaction, written by Perry, Neil Schon, and Jonathan Cain, clocking in at 4:21. After the Fall, written by Steve Perry and Jonathan Cain, clocking in at 5:01. Faithfully, written by Jonathan Cain, clocking in at 4:27. Edge of the Blade, written by Perry, Schon, and Cain, clocking in at 4:30. Troubled Child, also written by Perry, Schon, and Cain, clocking in at 4:29. Back Talk, which was a Perry, Cain, and Steve Smith composition, clocking in at 3:17. Frontiers, the title track, written by Steve Perry, Neil Schon, Jonathan Cain, and Steve Smith, clocking in at 4:10. And Rubicon, clocking in at 4:19, written by Steve Perry, Neil Schon, and Jonathan Cain. On the 2006 reissues, Only the Young, which was from the soundtrack Vision Quest, was written by Perry, Schon, and Cain, clocking in at 4:18. Ask the Lonely, from the soundtrack Two of a Kind, written by Perry and Cain, clocks in at 3:55. Liberty, an unknown song, written by Perry, Schon, and Cain, clocking in at 2:54. And Only Solutions, from the soundtrack of Tron, written by Steve Perry, Neil Schon, and Jonathan Cain, clocking in at 3:33. Journey's eighth studio record, Frontiers, was released in February of 1983. This was the band's last album to feature bassist Ross Valory until 1996's Trial by Fire, as mentioned earlier. The album reached number 2 on the Billboard 200 charts and would garner 4 top 40 singles. After the Fall, reaching number 23. Center of My Love, also reaching number 23. Faithfully, reaching number 12. And Separate Ways, Worlds Apart, reaching number 8. The album would later achieve 6 times platinum by the RIAA. That's Recording Industry Association of America. Frontiers was the highest charting album in the UK, reaching number 6 on the UK album charts that same year. In 2005, Frontiers was ranked 363 in the Rock Hard magazine's book of the 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time. My overall rating for Frontiers is an 85 out of 100. Much like Escape, it has some good rockers in there too, like Separate Ways, Worlds Apart, and After the Fall, and a rock radio hit called Chain Reaction. But everybody likes the song Send Her My Love and Faithfully, which were power ballads, by the way. You know, this is Journey's second most successful studio record behind Escape. And that's not saying much. They just rank right up there, number 2 and number 1 especially. So that concludes this week's Joe Lum's album review. Until next Monday, peace.
No.